case anyone's joining us out there. And get my banners up. There's that. Okay. Thank you once again for the bats. I love them both. They're beautiful.
Good. I'm glad.
Okay, that's what I do. Oops, that's not what I want to do though.
So you like that Funko Pop bat?
Oh yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, I've got them over here on my shelf. Chad.
Oh yeah.
Over there next to my shelf.
Nice.
Yeah, I had my regular Zartan there, so I moved him out of the way and put the bat there instead.
Take it.
It's very nice. Okay, throw the banner up. Okay, I guess we'll get ready to get going. And welcome to Bravo Team, episode 13, where it's all about the toys this episode. I am your host, Aaron Moss, a.k.a. General Head, and currently, as I'm recording this, I'm in Facebook jail, so I'm also on Facebook as Aaron Todd, because Facebook doesn't like me and doesn't like my attitude, so they banned me once again. So I set a secondary name just so I can post for my G.I. Joe stuff and my other podcast. Otherwise, I'd be dead in the water because I can't post on Facebook for like a week, and I can't do anything with my groups for like a month. So I'm like, what the?
What'd you do?
Something stupid. Well, it was on their part, in my opinion. What it was, someone was posted a picture of a Starbucks line, and the line went around Starbucks, out the parking lot, out on the street, around the corner, out on the street. And someone's made a comment about, only in America are people stupid enough to pay $5 for a cup of coffee, yet sit in line this long line complaining about the gas prices. And one person, because people are making all about America this, America that, Biden did this. And one guy from Europe somewhere made a comment that, well, it's like blah, blah, blah dollars or blah, blah, blah pounds here, which equals like $9 in American money. And some other person piped off, well, yeah, but we drive more here in America, so you don't count. And I came out and I'm like, well, to the original guy, I'm like, let me apologize on behalf of all stupid Americans that don't realize there's a bigger world out there and we're not the only ones that matter. So I apologize on behalf of all Americans. We're not all like this. And Facebook banned me for that. They said it was hate speech. Yeah, I've been banned 4 times, or suspended 4 times, 3 or 4 times now, all over stupid stuff. Someone posted a picture of, I forget who it was, an actor that hasn't aged much in the last 40 years, and they made a comment that he's an immortal. Well, I'm a big Highlander fan, especially the original movie. So I made a comment, he must be a Highlander. I'm like, he's an immortal, let's chop off his head and see. There can be only one.
Right.
And they banned me for that. And then there was another one that someone posted a picture of some guy all tatted out and had face modifications, had horns and tattoos all over and ear piercings all over. They said, what would you do if your daughter brought this guy home for a first date? And I said, well, burn it with fire. It's logical, you see something like that, you burn it with fire. Facebook didn't like that. And I think the first thing that got me in trouble was a friend of mine was having a bad day, and they're like, someone please shoot me. And I'm like, I'll tell you what, you shoot me and then I'll shoot you. And they banned me.
Yeah. It's like telling somebody you're going to cut off their head and throw it in their face. And they're like, no, you're banned.
Yeah. It's either jokes.
It doesn't even make sense.
And Facebook doesn't get that. And then the last time I was apologizing for Americans and they considered that hate speech. Because I said stupid Americans, I guess. So yeah, Facebook doesn't like me at this point. So that's why I just have a second profile, and I use my stepdad's last name of Todd. That's where that came from. That's how my school was Aaron Todd. So, well,
I got your number, man.
Yeah, they're on to me. So So I had to set up a secondary Facebook profile so I can interact with my podcast groups and all that.
I just knocked Maverick's plane over.
Uh-oh. Don't do that.
Yeah, I freaking elbowed it. Anyway, hey, what's up?
Hey, so not much, man. Thank you very much for joining me to talk about some toys. We're not here to talk about my Facebook troubles and Facebook jail. We're here to talk about some toys. For those out there listening in podcast land, I am not doing this alone. As you may have heard, I do have a guest. Today joining me is Articulated Chad, or as I like to call him, Toy Guy Chad. Hey, Chad, how's it going, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
You're always gonna be Toy Guy Chad to me.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, that was just a thing with me and my male people here on base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, real quick, I do have flashing. If you're watching this on YouTube, I do have flashing across the bottom of the screen. If you do want to interact with us or leave a message, actually, you can call and leave a message at area code 559-500-3182, and you leave a voicemail. Again, that's not manned by a person. It's just a voicemail. So if you have any comments on any of my shows, definitely leave a message at 559-500-3182, and I will play that on the air. But let's get into this episode. I've been wanting to do this for a while. In fact, when I started to plan this out, there wasn't as many toys out because I planned this a while back and things just kept interrupting and things kept popping up. But we're here to talk about the toys of G.I. Joe. Most particularly the toys of the last half decade or so since they came back out. I say came back out. We didn't really have a lot. They had the main wave in 1982 through early 90s. And then here in my area, they kind of phased out. I didn't see anything. And then I know they had the 25th anniversary line, but I never saw any of those at the store. My wife saw a Cobra Commander, so she picked that up for me because she was like Cobra Commander, the hooded one, or the one with the mask, battle helmets. She picked that up for me, but I hadn't seen any of the other 25th line in the store. At a Toys R Us, I did see one or two vehicles I never got around to get. But yeah, it's kind of bare around here. And I did see some of the toys for Retaliation, but with that movie being moved around, I think the toys were out of the store before the movie actually came out. So
yeah.
Hasbro and their marketing decisions, which we'll be talking about today a little bit. So the next toy
they repeated that with Snake Eyes too.
Yeah, yes. And then there's which came out around the same time. So we have the first thing they came out with was the classified line. They started that. And they're on, I don't know what wave they're on now. So just some brief thoughts. The classified line, overall, I like them. I think they're, for the most part, I do have some problems with some of them, but overall, I'm enjoying them. They started out around $20, like $19.99 a toy, but now they've gone up to the $24, I think it is, $24.99.
Right.
Originally, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to buy these or not, but I've got like almost half of them now, so I don't know. Chad, what are your thoughts on the classified line of the toys?
You got a battle android trooper now too.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. And here he's where'd he go? Yeah, he's right here with me all the time.
Yeah, the elbow's a little weird. The double jointed elbow, how it just folds in half.
Yeah,
little funky.
Yeah. But anyways,
I think we've discussed classified both the other times I've been on your show. I get it. I don't know. I'm not really at a loss for words. I'm trying to measure what I say. So I get the draw of 6-inch scale figures.
This is a safe space, my friend.
Yeah, right. I get the draw of 6-inch figures. I just don't understand, G.I. Joe is not just figures, right? It's figures and vehicles and all that stuff. And vehicles are still viable. 4-inch scale lines are still viable.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming out with vehicles for all sorts of lines, like the Batman toys that just came out and the Fortnite stuff and other lines. Vehicles and playsets are still out there.
Mhm.
So for Hasbro, an $11 billion company to say, oh, well, we can't do vehicles and we can't do play sets. And, we're doing 6-inch figures and just figures. And then they HasLab a Sky Striker. Look, I mean, there's a Sky Striker right there.
Yep.
Like there's two of them right on screen. Like they can still do Sky Strikers. Like they don't have to HasLab a Sky Striker. So to me, it's not just a matter of classified. It's everything kind of folded in together. Like, what's your business model? What are you looking at? Classified started wave 1, wave 2. Like, yeah, it's kind of the classic characters, but we're going to give them like asymmetrical body armor and gold shin pads and Men in Black looking guns and Nerf guns, right? So scaled Nerf guns and it just feels like, they corrected. Some people say they overcorrected. Some people said it was the right correction at the right time. But it feels like they're very disjointed. I know that the people on the Hasbro G.I. Joe team, like Emily and Lenny, like when you listen to them, like they do care. They do care. But it feels like a lot of the Joe decisions are made by committee.
Mm-hmm.
Like people, and sure, Emily from the G.I. Joe line admits that she knew nothing about G.I. Joe when she came into the job, which we talked about last time.
Right.
When you had Mike from What's on Joe Mind on as well. And that's a very daunting task because it's not just the 40 plus years of a real American hero, but if you go all the way back to the 60s, so the real American fighting man and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much history with G.I. Joe. And it's not just the toys or just the comics or just the Sunbow series or the Deke series or on and on and on. So she had a big hill to climb with that. But, why do you need 5 roadblocks? Like, you don't need 5 roadblocks. Like, you should have put Stalker out before maybe your second or third roadblock.
Yes.
Or made that Cobra Island roadblock freaking heavy duty. Like, there's just decisions that Joe people would not make those decisions.
Yes.
And going back to another thing that we've talked about before, like Bobby Valla, he's very vocal when he worked for Hasbro. He would say stuff to his managers who knew nothing about the brands that they were in charge of. And he would say stuff to them like, don't do this. Like, this is a bad idea. We should do this instead. And they would be like, just shut up and do your job. Because they got a lot of people there that, it's not the days of like Kirk Bazigian and Ron Rudat and, the Hassan, like Steven Hassenfeld. Like, it's not the days of them anymore. Like, It's all committee and stuff.
And I think that's one of the major problems with Hasbro right now is that I think, again, we didn't really talk about this, but that may have been one of the problems with the Snake Eyes movie is that I think that now that you're mentioning this, that may have been one of the problems with those too much committee going on to make that movie, which in my opinion ruined it.
Well, there were a lot of failures with that film because G.I. Joe is a team. You're making an origins movie about one member of a team. And even if you just go back to the original team, and if you included Shooter, right, it's a 14-person team, 13 without her, right?
Actually, the original Shooter.
Yeah, right. But that's like a squad. Like 13 people's it's like a squad plus. And then you make a solo movie. I understand that Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, they sell G.I. Joe. Like Batman and the Joker sell Batman.
Right.
Like Batman's got a million other fantastic villains, but it's like, man, we got to get the Joker. Like they just want to get to the Joker. Just like G.I. Joe movies just want to get to Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. Yeah. And I understand like they're super popular, but they are not the be all end all of G.I. Joe.
Well, in the last couple of years, the Marvel comic, it was Snake Eyes featuring G.I. Joe. They lead heavily in this because he was the fan favorite, so they lead heavily into Snake Eyes, and they're still doing it. So,
well, I call him G.I. Jesus, because up until spoiler alert in the comics where him and Serpentor off the thing and whatever, and like if you wanted anything done, like what do you need G.I. Joe for if you've got Snake Eyes? Just send Snake Eyes. He's like G.I. Jesus.
I love Snake Eyes. In fact, I have his battle helmets up there next to Cobra Commander and my Green Lantern.
I do not dislike Snake Eyes at all. He's a very rich character, has a lot of great history. It's just when he becomes like your MacGuffin device,
Well, the same problem.
It's like Snake Eyes and his sidekicks.
Yeah, that's my problem with Wolverine over in the X-Men. The X-Men movies, they made it all about Wolverine. In the, when was it, the late 90s, early 2000s, they had an X-Men cartoon that was focused heavily on Wolverine. I think it was called Wolverine and the X-Men. Sometimes they pick one character and the fans tend to like it, and instead of trying to spread things out, they lean heavily into that one character, which it kind of tends to ruin that character a little bit.
There's Outback Stew.
And real quick, Outback Stew joined us in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying hi to him real quick in the chat.
Yeah, I see it.
Glad you could join us, Outback Stew. Pleasure to have you on, man. Anyway, so I do agree with you that we've got way too many roadblocks out as far as the classified toys. I like Roadblock, don't get me wrong, but how many alternates of Roadblock do we need? And everyone's always complaining about diversity and representation. Well, featuring the same black character over and over with different poses or different clothes isn't representation. They've got, and that's one thing that we've talked about over the main G.I. Joe show, that Larry Hama did a great job on featuring different characters, different races, authenticities, men, women. Larry made it back in the 80s very diverse. But Hasbro tends to pick one or two characters and just run with it. Also, real quick before we continue, we've got Elite Legend Toys and Collectibles joining us in the chat. They action figures. I wish I could, man.
Stop purchasing action figures.
I wish I could. I'm addicted. And also joining us is Simple Tricks and Nonsense. I want to thank all three of you guys for joining us. Simple Tricks and Nonsense. He says that the SE movies should have been more based on the 80s comic. Yes, I think we said that when we talked about it, and every time I mention it. Change Vietnam to a made-up country like Durkistan, including
Durkistan.
The early formation of G.I. Joe with Duke and Scarlet. Oh, that is the movie I want to see. Again, I somewhat enjoyed Snake Eyes, but I had a lot of problems with it, as we've talked about. But what Simple Tricks and Nonsense says makes a lot of sense. They should have gone for, instead of just Snake Eyes, done G.I. Joe Origins or something and made it about the team. And Outback Stew pipes in, says if they never make another Roadblock, we'll still have too many roadblocks.
And the last Roadblock they made was the perfect Roadblock.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have to, it's like Thomas Edison. Like you don't have to fail at making Roadblock 1,000 times to make a good Roadblock.
Right. Yeah, no, I think the original Roadblock, they would have just the original toy and made that into a classified. I think that would have been perfect. And then they could have moved on. Like you said, Heavy Duty, Stalker, there's other characters they could have focused on. We're finally getting a Stalker, but how long has it been?
Yeah, you got to get through 11 waves to get Stalker, the guy who was in the first comic, the first cartoon, the last comic.
Stalker should have been in the first wave.
Look at that comment from Elite Legends from Hector there. It says they created a movie for an audience that doesn't exist outside of 10 people on Twitter. Now, that's a really valid point.
Yes. Yeah, very much
right?
so.
Yeah, because it ties into everything that we talk about, where they, made by committee, they have the checklist. To me, the words G.I. Joe and diversity do not need to be stated together, because it's always been diverse. Joe has always been diverse. We talked about this numerous times before. Scarlett was a graduate of Ranger School, right?
Yes.
When that file card was written, okay, so when was the file card written? 81, when they took that break year before the release. Right. So if the file card was written in, let's say, 80, 81, 82, between 80 and 82, and they didn't allow females into Ranger School until 2017, 2016.
Really? Wow.
That's how progressive, right, and diverse and inclusive G.I. Joe has always been.
Oh, that's
so to say we need to be more inclusive and or diverse in GI Joe. That's bullshit, because it's always been a thing.
Oh yes.
Right. Since the Real American Hero launched, it's always been diverse.
That's one thing we talk about on our main GI Joe show, is that how Larry Hama, even back in '82, was very diverse. He had black guys, you have women as a major part of the team back when it wasn't such a thing. I mean, a lot of things, your women back in the '80s, for the most part, was supporting roles or the damsel in distress. I mean, you had characters like Ripley from Aliens and Alien. I just watched Netflix, the movies that made us on Aliens last night.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Right now. But yeah, you do have some of those characters that are kick butt women, but it wasn't such a thing back in '82.
Well, it's like you always had your Ellen Ripleys, you always had your Sarah Connors, you always had your Scarletts, your Lady Jays, your Cover Girls, Baroness. Like, look at Baroness. She's capable. She may be on the bad guy team, but she's very capable.
Oh yeah. Well,
you always have those strong characters. When you take a character and like the only thing that you have to define them as is, okay, so this is a female character, right? And then let's build it off that. Like Ellen Ripley was never defined as being a woman. Scarlett's not defined as being a woman. Like, they're capable, competent, talented. You know what I mean? They just happen to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then so Simple Tricks and Nonsense. I don't know if that's John or Newt or both of them, but again, thanks guys for coming. So they said they want diversity, but they made Roadblock the Rock, but before that they race swapped Ripcord. Like, you have Stalker, one of the founding members. Like, put that in your film. And that's something you and I always talk about, Aaron. Like, where the is Stalker?
Yes. Well, that's one thing I don't, and as I've commented here, I think, and I've commented everywhere else, I don't like when they race swap a character, no matter what race it is. Well, because you're racist. Well, no, I didn't like in the Spawn movie when they had D.B. Sweeney, who at the time I loved as an actor. They had him play Terry Fitzgerald. I didn't like that. I thought D.B. Sweeney did good with what he had, but he's not Terry Fitzgerald. So,
but that's Spawn movie.
that Spawn movie had a lot of other issues, but that was one of my problems with it. Was D.B. Sweeney playing a black guy. But so I didn't like when they replaced Ripcord with Damon Wayans, including, or not Damon.
Why couldn't he have been Stalker?
Wayans brothers. I don't know if I'd want him as Stalker. I don't think. Well, maybe, I don't know. I guess he could do a serious role. You usually see him in the comedy stuff, but they
work things backward, just like with the Snake. Remember, we discussed the Snake Eyes movies where they knew that the movie had to get to this point, and so they almost like wrote it backwards, right? They knew what their action set pieces were going to be, and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to have Ripcord fly this Night Raven, or we're going to have one of the characters fly the Night Raven, so we're going to make him Ripcord." Well, first of all, Ripcord's not a pilot. He's not a pilot to begin with, right? So, okay, look, we're going to make Ripcord a pilot. Like, I mean, shit. Sorry. In the Sunbow series, like, everybody and their mom could fly a Sky Striker.
Yep.
So you didn't have to make him Ripcord. I'm sure it was just like, okay, we're going to design the action set pieces. And then there was that whole thing where Iron Man was popular beforehand. And so now we got accelerator suits.
Yeah.
The thing is, we went and saw the Batman last night. And I'm going somewhere with this, right? Yes. Alpex Stu says Nick Fury. But, the Sam Jackson Nick Fury is based on the Ultimates. I'm good with that. Like, he really embodied Nick Fury.
Yeah, but he gets a pass for me just because they did it in the Ultimates first.
Right. So we went and saw the Batman last night. And as we left and we were driving home, I sort of equated the Batman problem with the G.I. Joe problem, right? Everyone who does a Batman movie, so Chris Nolan did the hyper realistic grounded, and then Zack Snyder did, where'd you go? Zack Snyder did that like Justice League Batman. Did you leave me?
No, I'm here.
You just made me huge. Hey, what's up?
Since you were talking,
Zack Snyder did, the comic accurate, where you could have a Mr. Freeze and a Killer Croc and all that stuff when they started doing the DCEU. And then Matt Reeves takes it right back to the hyper realistic grounded stuff. It's like there has to be a balance with Batman, with the whole, comic sci-fi weirdness where you can have a Clayface or you can have a Mr. Freeze, and you have like a very gritty crime noir kind of Gotham City. There has to be that balance.
Yes,
and it's the same thing with G.I. Joe. Say again?
I was going to say, I kind of enjoyed the Batman. I like the fact that in this one, they actually played up more of the detective angle.
Sure. But where I'm going with that is like, it has to be that comic sci-fi, like, you know, extraordinary with that gritty, realistic crime noir. Like, it has to be like a handshake. And the thing with G.I. Joe is, once with Rise of Cobra, they tried to go very like, this is like a military movie. Right. You know what I mean? Once you go like, you know, we're in gun trucks and we're doing this and we're doing that, it removes that whole future forward, almost fantasy element that G.I. Joe always had.
Mm-hmm. Well, like we talked about,
they don't have to be laser rifles,
right?
But if you go too military, just like with Batman, if you go too hyper realistic, then you remove this whole other element that's there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that there has to be a way that they can get them to fit together. Like Jon Favreau's Iron Man, you know, they did the, you know, the sensational and the, you know, that future forward stuff with, you know, the kind of current events realistic, and they did it really well.
Oh, yeah.
There's somebody out there, you know, the Russo brothers, there's somebody out there who can make a good G.I. Joe live action story. You know, make a freaking TV series like The Unit or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bring characters in, take characters out.
I don't think so much the director's problem. I don't think, I could be wrong. I think it's a lot of it, as we've been talking about, I think it's Hasbro itself. Like I think someone said on the last Bravo Team special we did, which by this recording I haven't released yet due to my hard drive crash, but that's another story entirely. But I think it's Hasbro is its own worst enemy. Hasbro seems to be wanting to kill G.I. Joe. Was it you said that?
It was me.
I wasn't sure, but yeah. Hasbro is its own worst enemy. They're the ones that try. It's like they're trying to kill G.I. Joe without trying. It's just, you know, natural for them to. I don't know.
Yeah. They killed Joe Con. They made G.I. Joe a Toys R Us exclusive line as Toys R Us was going under because of that whole Bain Capital thing, and like they're very reluctant with G.I. Joe. They're reluctant. I don't think that the people that are around today understand like the draw of it, the spark. Mm-hmm. You know, they just see like it's a military toy line, and that's kind of taboo right now.
Right. Well, like with Transformers, I mean, they've had Transformers movies, whether you like them or not. They've had Transformers movie out for years. They've had the toy line. I've always seen the toy line at the store. Whereas G.I. Joe, we've gotten 3 movies in the last decade.
Yeah.
Hit or miss values on those. And the toys, like I said, even though they are releasing the toys, and I don't know if this is the store's issue or Hasbro's issues. After everything we've talked about, I'm willing to blame Hasbro. But it depends where you live. Like in my area, I hardly see any of the figures. So, like I said, I checked Target, and until recently, I haven't seen any of the Target exclusive figures at Target. Recently, I've started seeing them pop up here and there, but their distribution, I think, is horrible for their toys.
Yeah, that's getting into a whole other can of worms. And like Outback Stu just said, G.I. Joe has great sci-fi elements of it. I never looked at G.I. Joe in a realistic way. I don't think anybody did.
Right. You know? It's got touches of realism here and there because Larry was in the military.
Yeah.
And especially in the comic, he added those, you know, the military lingo and tried to make it as realistic as he could. When you're dealing with, you know, sci-fi weapons and, you know, cloning great leaders of the past and making the ultimate soldier, ultimate leader, whatever. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a mixture of real military, but it's got that hint of sci-fi that's woven together. And the cartoon did it all right, but Larry did it in the comic much better. And again, he was able to, for somehow, get away without using some of the sillier things like Cobra Law. But he used almost everything that Hasbro had out there, and he integrated it into the comic one way or another very nicely. So I don't know, other than Hasbro not liking G.I. Joe, I don't know if they don't like money or what it is, but yeah, Hasbro's really dropping the ball because I think handled properly, G.I. Joe could be as big as it was in the 80s.
Yeah, it's just it all comes across like a lot of knee-jerk reactions. So there's classified, and then they come out with the modern retro. But when they first launched the modern retro, it was just re-releases of 50th anniversary figures on the wrong freaking card backs.
Right.
Yes. You know what I mean? Like you put out this Snake Eyes, he's on the version 1 card, but it's the 50th anniversary. And the 50th anniversary 2-pack of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow had both heads with that Snake Eyes. They could have put the Commando head on it, right? But they put the version 2, even though he was still a Commando, right? They put the version 2 head on him, but they left the version 1 on the card back. And like, I was happy to see, his tanks, Awe-Strikers. Now, there was probably a little too many Awe-Strikers in the stores, but I was happy to see that they were trying, right? They were putting it out there. They were testing the waters.
Right.
But then they half-assed it.
Yep.
And then they came out with the worst Duke possible with that screaming face. Like, why that Duke? Yeah, right. There it is. And I don't know. And then they came out with the Hiss 3. I would have loved to have seen them redo the Hiss 2, but the Hiss 3, it uses the same molds as the Hiss 1, just different colors. Like, I get the cost-saving elements. I would never fault a company for trying to save money and be able to put out more product. Right. Don't have a problem with that. But you didn't give that modern retro. First of all, calling it retro set it up for failure to begin with, because people were waiting for O-ring figures. When they heard retro, they thought the Star Wars retro line, right? Especially the Star Wars retro line. They're like, oh man, they're going to come out with O-rings, because the Star Wars retro is 5 POA, and they even like made the card backs look shitty, intentionally.
Right.
And then they didn't come out with O-ring figures, so they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that. It's just a lot of tone-deaf decisions, like we've talked about.
Yes, I wouldn't mind the retro line. Again, I use retros in quotes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that line if they hadn't called it the retro line. It's not a bad set of toys, but...
No, I love them. I have tons of them.
My problem is that they're calling it a retro line when it's not. I mean, they've taken off the Real American Hero from the packaging. They don't have the full file card. They've got the 5 language, as they talked about during the Hasbro.
The 5L?
Yeah. They've got just the 5, which I understand that it's a marketing decision and it's from higher ups, but I don't like that, because part of the joy to me was collecting the file cards. And yeah, they still have the file cards, but there's not much information. The original file cards, they told you about the character. They give you the little quote. It was more in depth, and it looked like a file card. So, yes, as you hold one up.
They take it from all of this to just like that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I got to smash 5 languages. I get what you're saying.
And so I understand where they're coming from, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. And again, I'm not a huge fan of the file cards now. I like collecting the file cards. When I was younger, I had a little recipe card box, whatever. I had all my file cards in there, sorted alphabetically. You could pull them out and you actually read the, gives you a little bit of the character. So, and then, not being O-ring. Yeah, I don't see anything on here that's really retro except for maybe their look. But once you get beyond that, it's not really a retro character. Now, if it's just been, G.I. Joe 40th anniversary, for instance, they called it, I'd been fine with it. But going to retro, to me, like you said, it kind of shoots himself in the foot and it sets it up for failure, because people want to go retro, right on, O-rings, file card, all this. Oh, none of that. So,
and the exclusives. You mentioned the Target exclusive. So Target had the Cobra Island exclusive. Now they have the Python Patrol, right, and the Tiger Force. They're going to be the new.
I've never seen them.
Yeah, well, exactly. They're not out yet. Yeah, granted, you can pre-order them, but you won't friggin' see them for a year and a half.
Right.
And so Target gets the exclusives. Then Walmart had the retro, modern, right? The new modern, which I think those body designs are great.
Outback Stew says
then that's a Walmart exclusive. Now the O-rings are a Hasbro Pulse exclusive, and like Outback Stew just said, all they need to do is release the O-ring figures in the stores, but they're not.
Right, and see, that's part of the problem. And they've got the new retro line with the O-rings, but they're releasing them in 2 packs, and they're only available
Hasbro Pulse.
on Hasbro Pulse. You can't go down, a 12-year-old or 12-year-old Aaron can't go down to the store, and or my 7-year-old son Grayson can't go down to the store and pick up these O-ring figures. They're $40, 40 some odd bucks a pop for 2 figures, which is just over $20 a piece. And in my opinion, that's a bit much. I picked up the Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes just because, well, hi, my name's Aaron Moss, and I have an addiction. But and I
my name's Chad, and I have one too.
I've pre-ordered the Cobra and the Cobra Trooper 2-pack. I'm debating whether I want to keep it or cancel it. Again, I've got a year or so to decide. So, excuse me. But yeah, so I'm thinking about canceling that just because, again, $20 a figure for the 4-inch figures is a little pricey. And as Outback Stu says, he's so over all these exclusives. And yeah, that's why I don't mind the exclusives to the stores as long as every place else is getting figures. I mean, back when we were kids in 82, 83, through the early 90s, you could walk into almost any toy store or even, regular stores that sold toys and find G.I. Joe on the shelves. So if you had some exclusives, that's fine. But when this toy shelves are looking for G.I. Joe stuff is, all you can see is some of the peg warmers for the Snake Eyes Origins movie. There's a problem somewhere.
A Kiko. It's just a Kiko everywhere.
Yeah, by Walgreens. If people say, you can go to Walgreens and get G.I. Joe figures, my Walgreens had one Akiko. Still sitting there.
The one Walgreens where I live, and it's like 15 miles away, nothing. Never. Yeah, so. It's not so much the exclusives. I get the argument against exclusives. It's the fact that, sure, okay, Target gets an exclusive. Where are they? Mm-hmm. That's the bottom line. That's the tail on that dog. Where are they? Mm-hmm. You may have an exclusive. Okay, cool. Walmart, you get those retro card back 6-inch exclusives, right? Because they're finally making Gung Ho look like Gung Ho. Again, why didn't you do that the first time? Why'd you make that weird Chuck Liddell looking freaking future forward Predator figure? Make the weird ones later. But
yes,
if you're going to have exclusives, cool. But have them at least in quantity where people can buy them online. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, a store's going to get a case or 2 cases. That's cool. Right? So they get 2 cases, that's like 12 figures. In classified, that's like 12 figures. But I should be able to go in freaking 2022, I should be able to go to Target.com and order those figures. Mm-hmm. Jazzwares came out with that Halo line.
Right.
You could find them anywhere. You could just order them like that. That Warthog that Target had, or the Mantis, that Halo Mantis. I just went on Target. Boop, boop, boop. I ordered 3 Mantises, just like that.
I understand the stores not ordering a lot because they don't want to be sitting on them forever. But like you said, in 2022, when we have this wonderful thing at my fingertips called the internet, you should be able to order them. Yeah, go into Target or Walmart's website and order them. Oh, it's sold out, or they don't have any. Yeah, you should be able to go and order them online at the bare minimum.
But it's all layers of the same cake. So you get a store exclusive, but that retailer doesn't have enough where they can meet demand, right? And then they don't have them in the stores, and you can't order them online. And then another layer of that cake is pre-orders. So the word pre-order, right? The word pre-order means I order it before it's available to make sure I'm one of the first ones who gets it.
Yes.
That doesn't exist, right? With other companies, it's a thing. With Hasbro, and I'm only talking G.I. Joe because I only collect G.I. Joe.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I know some of the things we talked about, the price point and the new plastic packaging they've got going on.
Yeah, the plastic list. But so if you look at Marauder Gun Runners, right, now they do Kickstarters. Their pre-orders are Kickstarter campaigns. So I got in on the Kickstarter campaign for the Vietnam, right? I ordered a whole bunch. I went hard in the paint on that.
Right.
I'm going to get them, right? As part of my Kickstarter pledge, which is a pre-order, I'm going to get those before they post them in their store for anybody who wasn't part of that Kickstarter pre-order to get them. Right. That's what a pre-order should be. But you pre-order these Joes, right? It doesn't matter what they are. You pre-order them and you wait. If you pre-order them directly from Hasbro, from Walmart, from Target, from Big Bad Toy Store, from wherever, and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait, but you walk into a store and you come across them, right? And then you're like, why the frig did I pre-order these?
Well, yeah. Well, that's like with the Fresh Monkey. They did the Larry Hama action figure. And I got on that. So I'm like, oh, Larry Hama, I'm gonna have to get. Yes, I pre-ordered it through them. Again, pre-ordered it. People were getting them from Big Bad Toy Store before I got mine in the mail.
Yep.
We'll start having shipping problems. Well, I understand, but why can you get them to Big Bad Toy Store, but not to the people that ordered them? And I paid $5 or $10 more than what you could have got it for on Big Bad Toy Store to help with the Kickstarter thing or the Fresh Monkey thing, whatever you want to call it. But I didn't get mine until after people were getting, I got mine. I ordered off a Big Bad Toy Store. It came in, yesterday. Still waiting on them. I finally got it. It's behind me, but it took a little longer. And like you said, a pre-order should be you're guaranteed to get the first wave, the first, I don't understand that. And
right. So if I,
Stu.
Yeah.
I was looking online today, saw more out of stock and pre-orders than he did in stock. This is 3 different online stores. Yeah, it's just a problem with G.I. Joe. I don't know where that decision's coming from, other than Hasbro.
Yeah, but this is something that like Micro French from Retro Blasting talks about a lot. It's that they're all about hype right now. Oh well, we sold out. We sold out. We sold out. We sold out these pre-orders, and these pre-orders sold out, and this sold out. And look at all the hype. It's like nobody's asking, how many did you sell? Right? All they want to hear is the pre-order sold out. Right? Mm-hmm. They're selling like mad. The pre-order sold out. Well, cool. Right. How many did you sell? 5,000, 10,000? I bet you could have sold 500,000. But it's just like it's this, they recoil from like we can't have overstock.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's I say my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the action figures are what, $12.99 a piece. I don't know if they're going up for the regular size figures. Well, they don't have any more right now, except for the carded retro, which is $20 a piece. I'd be willing to bet that if you dropped them down to $10 a piece, $8.99 or something like that, under $10 a piece for a figure, and had them available, I don't know, everywhere, you could make a lot of money on that. I think you'd be willing if it was out there so people could go in and buy it and not have to pay. Because, $12, $13, $14 for one figure, even though they have a lot more weapons than they used to, that's a little pricey for a kid, I think, in my opinion, just to go in and have their parents, plop down that money. And then that's if you can find them.
Yeah, it's like a vomitorium of weapons. Like, you don't need 3 knives. Just calm down.
Yeah, I do like all the weapons, but if we could drop the price $3 or so and get more of them out there at the stores, I'd be willing to lose all that extra crap.
You know what? And here's the bottom line. I'm not shitting on G.I. Joe. Like I'm not shitting on it at all. I think I'm just trying to point out that G.I. Joe was never a dead brand. Like it was killed prematurely. It didn't need to be killed. It's always been solvent. It's always been relevant. It's the most collected toy line in history for a reason. Like it's loved by so many people. If you have issues with getting the stuff out there, fix the issues. Like I'm not trying to crap on Hasbro. I'm not trying to just be like, Debbie Downer about it. I'm just trying to celebrate it. There should be, if people like 6-inch figures, they should be readily available where, you just walk into a Walmart and there they are. Because if kids are getting priced out of certain toy lines, they're not getting priced out of action figures. They're getting priced out of certain IPs and brands, right? And that's based on who's selling the stuff. Because Jazzwares proves like, yeah, we can make vehicles. We'll make weird stuff. Like, well, I'll make a dump truck, and then I'll make like a freaking Scooby-Doo looking van, and they make weird shit all the time. And it moves. Like Lego's still super popular because Lego knows their core audience, right? They know what their brand is. Lego does great. And Lego stuff's expensive. That stuff's not cheap. But Lego does great. Like, you could keep Joe going. And if you want to get the kids, the next generation, into Joe, it's got to be out there. It's got to be on the pegs. You can't just put out a freaking martial arts movie and slap the words G.I. Joe on it and think that you're going to get all these kids into this rich brand, and these kids are going to reach all the way back to 1982. That's not going to happen.
No,
like,
it looks like
it has to be out there.
It looks like they're targeting me and you, the adults, the 40, 50-year-olds that grew up on G.I. Joe.
They didn't target me with that movie.
Well, not about that movie in particular, but I'm talking, it seems like their general mindset with their pricing and everything is what I'm looking at. Their exclusivity and everything, and the fact you can't find on the stores. It seems like they're reaching out to people like me and you that are 40, 50 years old that grew up 100%. On G.I. Joe. But honestly, you know what? I'm 52 years old. I'm going to die at some point.
Are you 52?
I am 52, yes.
Man, you look 45.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, I turned 52 on Christmas Eve.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm going to die at some point. And if they're just targeting me.
Maybe.
No, I trust me. Like the way I eat and the way I smart off to people. I'm either going to die because of my health or someone's going to kill me off because they're tired of my attitude. One of the two.
You're going to die in Facebook, Joe.
Yeah. But when I die, I mean, my son, yes, he kind of likes G.I. Joe because of what, I get an occasional figure, but there's not enough out there, and the price point's a little too high for me to buy a figure and give to my 7-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, they price kids out of G.I. Joe.
I bought him their first HISS tank and one of the figures, but yeah, he doesn't know where the guns are at. He doesn't, the tank got messed up. Mm-hmm. I mean, the price point's a little too high, in my opinion, for the figures to just buy for, your kids to play with and then get messed up or lose, strap explosives to them, blow them up or whatever. The things that we did when we were kids, I see. Yeah,
I hate to admit that. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that price point's a little too high for that. They're aiming the price point more for me and you that want to collect. I'm an idiot that's got the figures back here on cards still. And, I've got things boxed up over here on my shelf. I've still got things boxed up, and because I'm an idiot. But to me, if they want to hit these young kids, as I've said, I think they need to lower the price, and they need to have the toys, especially the retro line. They need to have them out there, and they actually need to do figures for them. Because I say the retro line's all but gone now. They've transformed it into the new retro line with the O-rings, but you can't find them in the store.
No.
You got them $40 for 2 figures through Hasbro Direct or Hasbro Pulse, which is just ridiculous. And
that sold out. They sold out immediately.
And I'm not the only idiot out there. Outbacks too, still carded. But yeah, no. So, and yeah, it sells because it's selling to me and you, and our, maybe not me particularly, but yeah, they're selling to our age people when to survive.
It's marketed to collectors. Yeah, they price kids right out of the line.
That's one of the big problems, in my opinion, with the current Joe stuff is they're outpricing it for the kids, and they're not releasing it enough. Again, whether it's the store's not ordering enough or Hasbro not giving enough product. Seeing how
I think it goes back to just wanting to sell out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we sold out. Look how great this is. Well, how many, like you said, how many did you make? How many did you actually sell? Selling out's all good and fine, but how many did you actually sell out?
How do you sell out a pre-order, Aaron?
Yeah, no, that's
like it's a pre-order. They haven't even gone to production. If in a pre-order phase you sell 300,000, then you make 300,000 more than what you would give to distributors. And there you go. Like, I'm not a business expert, but it's just,
unless
I'm going to keep hitting this plane.
So only 1,000 figures. Okay, that's one thing. But just to say, well, here's our figures. You can pre-order. Oh, sorry, we're sold out. Yeah, I'm with you. How can you sell out of something that hasn't been sold yet?
Open a pre-order window and say they're going to be available for pre-order for this 30 days, right? Here's the pre-order link. Pre-order your shit. We're going to charge you immediately. None of this put a hold on your account every month until you get it, because that's crazy. That's what Target does. Then you open a pre-order window for so long. Whatever you sell during that pre-order, you make that. And then if it's not going to go to retailers, you make that plus whatever more that you need, right? And you're done. There you go.
Yeah, no, that's
how hard is that?
That makes sense. Apparently, you don't work for Hasbro. But yeah, no, that's what you would think when you had a pre-order. Yeah, if you're pre-ordered, you make what's being ordered, because if it's a pre-order, you've got those sales.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's 3,000, 4,000, 100, whatever it may be, whatever the pre-order is, you charge them. You've got those sales. So why cap it off at whatever they have? Say they have 2,000, but they got 3,000 people wanting to order it. There's 1,000 people there that you're just missing out on.
Yep.
And it'd be one thing. Okay, well, we've got 2,000 toys. That's all we have. We don't have any more to send to stores. We don't have any, whatever. So these sell out through the pre-order. Okay, then you're not sending to the stores. But to sell out a pre-order and then send some to the store, it just, ridiculous. I don't understand that mindset. Other than they just want to sell out.
Yeah, it's weird. So like, even with Kenner with the Star Wars line, the Darth Vader, the Stormtrooper, like the Darth Vader that came out in 78 with the New Hope line.
Oh yeah.
That was the same Darth Vader that they released throughout the entirety of the Kenner Star Wars line. The same with the Stormtrooper, and they kept making them over and over and over. So why can't they still put Wave 1, Wave 2 classified figures in stores now? Like they made them, they're there. Like you can't refresh it to put them back out.
I don't understand.
But you know what? I don't want to see that Wave 1 Duke again.
Yeah, he looked like he was in pain. He boxed up. I was going to pull him out and show it to you, but he may be boxed up.
I trust me. I've seen him. And I painted him. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree that, yeah. I just don't understand Hasbro's mindset.
Like that Megatron Hiss Tank. Okay, some people liked it, some people didn't. Like, remember we had that debate last time where Kevin was getting about the crossover stuff.
And I'm not a fan of the crossover stuff myself, as I talked about, but
the point is they sold out in like 10 minutes. I bet you they could have sold 10 times that number.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, it was, definitely. If they weren't shortchanging themselves, they could make a lot of money on it. It's like you said, or I think you said, they're setting themselves up for failure.
Mm-hmm. And I don't understand why.
Yeah, I'm at a loss. Yeah, I don't know why they would do that. That's just ridiculous.
I think if they would have came out of the gate swinging with classified and then been like, okay, so we're going to do G.I. Joe 6-inch. We're calling them classified. Here's the original 13.
Mm-hmm.
There's your first run. Boom.
Or maybe the first run, do the first half. And then for the second run, if you don't want to do 13 toys in one set, because what was in the original run? 5, 6, 7 figures?
So it's the 13 because that's, you got the vehicle drivers and stuff. So you got Steeler and then Hawk, and they came with
the classified figures.
The first classified, I believe, was 5.
Yeah, that's why I said it was like 5 plus. There was like the exclusive Snake Eyes and variant Cobra Commander. But yeah, so do the first 6 or 7 of the original Joes, and then
Cobra Commander and a Trooper.
Yeah. Yeah. Or for the first wave, do the first like 5 and Cobra Commander and a Trooper. And then the next wave, do the rest of them, including Shooter.
And the Cobra Officer.
And a Cobra Officer, and you've got, in my opinion, the perfect first 2 waves of figures.
And then you make a HasLab Vamp and an MMS.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know. Yeah. I'd say you would need to do it. You wouldn't need to do it HasLab because you've got the, like you said about the Strike Shredder, you already got them. But no, they're making them bigger. So, and that's
You don't have to. You don't have to, but you know they wouldn't do it any other way.
Right. Well, if you're releasing the 6-inch figures, any vehicles you need to release in the classified line would need to fit those figures in theory. So they would need
right. But so for Star Wars, for the Black Series, they did that Black Series TIE Fighter. They did the Black Series Snowspeeder. When that thing is gorgeous. But you think they're going to do that for G.I. Joe?
How much were they? Do you know offhand?
No,
I
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't collect Star Wars.
I did when I was younger, but before I got into G.I. Joe. But
yeah. When I was a kid, sure, of course.
But yeah, and like I said, I wouldn't mind picking up some of the Star Wars stuff because again, a lot of it, like the retro stuff, looks like the retro figures, but I don't have the money for G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Star Wars. Anyway, I didn't plan on picking Transformers again.
Yeah, no, I see them.
My second shelf there I've got, and I've got a bunch boxed up, so I haven't because I'm still working on getting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, regardless, it's too much. It's just too much stuff.
So yeah, there's not enough money to spend on everything I want to. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can pick up the occasional Transformers figure to go along just because I like them. But I saw on the shelf here, I got all the Transform the movie figures that I picked up so far.
Yeah, I have a few.
But anyway,
they're around.
We're talking about their problems with G.I. Joe, and but while I'm on Transformers, real quick, I was at my Walmart and I did see the Starscream with the crown and the throne and all that. And again, it's on that
Coronation Starscream.
Yes, thank you. It's part of that packageless packaging. It's just in a box. You can't see the figure. It's like $50 for it. I haven't laid up.
When we were discussing that on the last Bravo team, we all talked about that plasticless, windowless packaging.
Mm-hmm.
I never even thought, because Kevin had some strong feelings about that, and rightfully so.
Right.
But I never even thought about the collectors who display and package, which is a good chunk of collectors. I tended to only think about it from my perspective, right? Because I bring my perspective to the table.
Right. Well,
I only have a small number of things that are still on card. I never even considered that because there's a lot of collectors who, classified, you face them out. I mean, there they are in the windows. Right. Easy peasy. And now you're like that Viper 3-pack, you're just going to have a box. Mm-hmm. That's the same as like...
And it's got some nice artwork. Don't get me wrong.
There's a difference between so I just have this sitting on a shelf. I'm still trying to decide if I want to open him or not, right? You could display him like that, or in the new packaging, it's going to look like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have, for those out there listening on the actual podcast, Elite Legends Toys and Collectibles. First they said, stunning and brave. Followed by
so brave
Toys in China, the leaders in CO2 emissions. Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. So I don't, and I understand in theory, the wanting to reduce plastic, the blah, 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 but I thought it was all recyclable. So if you do throw it away, it can be recycled. And like you said, a lot of collectors nowadays, they're displaying them in the packaging. So it's not even going to waste. It's not even going to a landfill. It's sitting here on my shelf. And the ones I have opened, again, maybe it's just me. I've got the boxes in a bigger box out in the garage. Just in case I need to box them up. Like I said, my Green Lantern battery back there I've got the box for that out here in my garage just in case I ever need to box it up for any reason.
I think part of the issue is that you're limiting people's options, right, for collecting and displayability. And one thing about Elite Legends is like I love that dude. Like he doesn't pull punches. Like he always calls it like he sees it. But yeah, the toys are made out of plastic. Plastic's recyclable. Like okay, I get it. Maybe it's a virtue signal, maybe it's something else. Whatever, they want to decrease their carbon footprint. Great, but at the end of the day, the collectors who collect and buy your stuff, like you're limiting their options.
Well, like Elite Legends Toy says, I'm going to I'm going to print out a copy of the artwork and display it on the wall. Dave wins.
Yeah, that's what I got going on behind me, right? I got these posters from Carson at 3D Joe's. Like, there's all your card art. There's all your box art.
And again, I see I'm not the only one. Outback Stu says he keeps his boxes too. So
yeah, I keep a lot of mine.
So yeah, I say so. A lot of that plastic that's going to go in the landfill for these collectible toys, they're not going in the landfill. They're going to sit in my garage in a box gathering dust, until I die off and the wife throws them all out. But that's beside the point.
I mean, yeah, if we're trying to be more environmental friendly, well, you got cardboard too.
Yeah. I mean,
like where's it going to end? Like, I don't, whatever. I don't, that's a them decision. I open everything anyway, so I keep hitting this plane.
It does affect some collectors, and they may lose that on sales, like Kevin. He may not pick up those Vipers because you can't see the actual figures. And even if they were to, I don't know if they're going to sell them in the stores or not. And if they do, if you're going to find them at your local store. But if they do, I think not being able to see the figures going to limit their sales.
You know why I'm not picking them up? Because it's 3 figures instead of $24 each. It's $90.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to pre-order something that I'm not going to get for 15 months.
Yeah, see, I pre-ordered the Vipers just because as I've talked about, I have a soft spot for the Vipers. $30 a piece is getting a little steep for me. Unfortunately, I see the toys going that way. And that's what I'm afraid of. Because usually if you buy a multi-pack, in theory, since you're buying multiple figures, you should get a little cheaper. You're paying more for these, which leads me to believe maybe that eventually here in the near future, we're going to be paying $30 a pop for the classified figures, which I think unless something happens, I may be stepping out at that point.
Look at that comment.
Yeah, I was just going to post that. Elite Legend with the great comments. Nothing more environmentally friendly than digital renders.
Yeah, that's 0 carbon footprint right there at digital renders. Buy these digital renders. Like a Kickstarter, you want to give me that Robo Skull Mark II? I'll buy into that Kickstarter. I won't see that thing for 15 months. That's fine. Right. The Marauders, all there, like they did the World War II, they did the Vietnam, all that stuff. Okay, cool. I'll buy into that because those are Kickstarters.
Mm-hmm.
Hasbro figures, we're just talking general release figures, 13 to 15 months is absurd.
Well, that was part of my problem with the Sky Striker. I didn't have the extra money for it. But also I thought it was a little ridiculous that long of a lead time because they've already got it mostly done.
That mold?
Yeah, right there. Yes.
It's a new mold. It is a new mold. But
okay.
Yeah.
But okay. Well then, but the only reason I didn't get into it because I didn't have that kind of money just laying around just to blow on another Sky Striker. But if I would have, again,
I don't see why you need to HasLab a Sky Striker, a vehicle that's been around 40 years. Right. Mm-hmm. Numerous iterations.
Yeah.
But they did whatever. It's done.
Right.
That's a done thing. I'm okay with them doing that. I'm fundamentally against the whole HasLab crowdfunding, earning the interest anyway. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, like if you want it, get it. If you can afford it, don't worry about what people think about it. Just like do for you.
Yes.
But they could have just put that out.
Yeah. Well, as Shag says over on his podcast, you got to find your joy.
Mm-hmm.
Joy
100%.
That's it. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. If you enjoy it, the hell with everyone else, buy it. If you have the money, you can do it, and you enjoy it, go for it.
Well, that's the joy of anything that we do. Like, I love the Joe Transformer crossover stuff. I make a bunch of custom Joe Transformer crossover stuff because I like it. I don't need other people to like it to reinforce the fact that I like it. Like I'm good with it. Like if you don't like it, that's fine. I didn't make it for you. I don't give 2 shits if you like it or not.
Yes.
But
does it transform? Sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry that my Off Striker doesn't transform into Beachcomber.
What you mean the toy? The toy that you made for yourself doesn't satisfy other people's desires, oh my God.
Yeah, you didn't like the colors that I used on my Night Force Rolling Thunder? It's not gray. I left it green, God forbid.
And I agree with Elite Legend Toys and Collectibles. They assume no risk. A company that large doesn't need to do crowdfunding. And it's kind of like
100%.
what you're talking about, Chad, that, yeah, these smaller companies that don't have the money, they need the crowdfunding to make the toy. I'm sure the guys that did the Larry Hama figure, they needed the money to actually produce that figure. So that's why they did I got it through the Fresh Monkey. I think they did an earlier one through Kickstarter or whatever. They needed the money to do the figure. Hasbro doesn't need my $200, $213 or whatever it was to do the Sky Striker. They've got a crap ton of money they could do the jet with and release it. So
it's the same thing when they did the Razor Crest. You know, they crowdfunded that Razor Crest. They sat on that money. That money earns interest. That's what, like $3.5 million earning interest for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then what happened? They blew that damn ship up right after that. Whatever. But yeah, they don't need to crowdfund. Like,
no,
business should come with risk and reward, and there's always going to be that kind of risk with business.
Right.
You know, like Marauders needs to crowdfund. They need to do Kickstarter campaigns because they have to make the mold. They have to do the colorways, you know, all of that stuff. This stuff costs money. Marauders is a small company. Hasbro has been at this game forever. They don't need crowdfunding. Now, I'm not knocking on them for making a G.I. Joe HasLab, because I can also see the positive of that, because they had a Star Wars HasLab fail miserably, right? That Rancor. Okay. Now, there's a lot of people saying that backers knew that the Rancor was going to fail, and so they moved from the Rancor to the Sky Striker. Yeah, probably, because the Sky Striker shot up in like the last 48 hours of the campaign. But they had a G.I. Joe HasLab, the first one, do great, right? Against the Star Wars one that failed. So, whatever, I just don't see why you need to do that when your company is that big. Like, Henry Ford took a risk, went over great. John DeLorean took a risk, not so great, right? You look at other companies, you know, like DeSoto versus Plymouth and so on and so forth. Like Coke, New Coke, Pepsi, Crystal Pepsi. Remember Crystal Pepsi? Remember that shit? You know what I mean? Like,
remember that.
So Pepsi, people love Pepsi. They come out with Crystal Pepsi. Not so great, you know.
Pepsi,
but
I love it.
But they took a risk on it. They didn't ask people, hey, we want you to crowdsource this clear Pepsi before we put it out, you know?
Well, a 4-inch inline Sky Striker, maybe it's me, isn't a risk. People are going to buy that son of a bitch.
That's not a risk at all.
People are going to buy that. So it's just a matter of making, like I said, they've got the molds for most of it. They can do some new molds, you know. And again, Hasbro's been around for 100 years.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know exactly when they got founded, but in fact, while we're talking, I'm going to look it up and see, because I'm curious now.
Well, the bottom line is, since they absorbed, you know, Tonka and Kenner and all these other lines, like they own Mask, they own GoBots, they own everything. Like, you own it all. Yeah, they could have just made a Sky Striker.
Yeah, Hasbro was originally Hasenfeld Brothers in 1923.
Yep.
Became Hasbro Industries in 1968, and then Hasbro Bradley in 1984. So yeah, one way or another, they've been around for 99 years in one form or another. They've got, like you said, they've over the years they've absorbed all these other companies, all these other properties. They've got the money to release a Sky Striker for the 4-inch Joes, or 3 1/4 inch, whatever, 3 3/4 inch Joes, whatever it is.
1/18 scale, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I'm terrible at scale, so yeah, 1/18 scale.
Yeah.
They could release that for a much lower price than what they did on the HasLabs, and just release it as a toy to the stores. But that requires them releasing toys to the store. But that's something we've talked about earlier. So,
well, look at that Legacy Millennium Falcon they made. It was a Target exclusive. It was a Target online exclusive, but that thing was gigantic. It held 4 figures in the cockpit, and they sold immediately. Immediately. And again, this goes back to if you sold out immediately and their online sales, I bet you could have sold a lot more.
Yeah, make a few more and see how they go. It's not like maybe I'm wrong. I don't work for any of these companies. It's not like when they get done making them, they throw the molds out into the trash. I'm sure they've got them there.
No.
We sold out.
No.
Oh, we got people wanting more. Let's fire up the kill and make some more.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they could make a ton more money. And then again, we get Outback Stew here in the audience. Just give me a new warthog.
Like Sergeant Slaughter's warthog?
Oh.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, so
warthog.
They need to, that's where they're failing, in my opinion. And barely yours, they're marketing towards us just older people. They're not making it so the kids can go into the store and buy them. And just, a lot of bad decisions from Hasbro and their committee.
Yeah, Stu said yes.
Yes.
So why not HasLab a whale? The killer whale? Like, killer whales are fragile. Like, to find a complete killer whale is like, that's an act of God.
Right.
Like, because I'm looking at my whale right here, like, HasLab a whale. HasLab this sucker. My flag.
Oh, yeah.
Like, HasLab a terror drone.
Yeah.
Why a Sky Striker?
HasLab something bigger, something new. Like, we've talked about on the main G.I. Joe show, some of those Cobra jets they have with like the giant snake heads for the cockpit or whatever.
Or that Aspid helicopter that they never made from the comics.
Yes, do something that they haven't done before as a HasLab. That I would be behind.
HasLab a Sunbow accurate G.I. Joe headquarters.
Yes. And
like that Screaming Eamon tried to make, and then that whole thing fell apart. But you know what I mean? Like, HasLab something ridiculous like that.
And Elite Legend says that would cost about $5 million.
Yeah. But you know what? A shitload of people would pay it.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think the HasLab, from the sound of it, in my opinion, it should be something risky or something, like I said,
the stuff you can't put in stores.
Something that needs to be made a little better, or something never done before, would be a better HasLab, in my opinion, than a Sky Striker.
Yeah. Like a Sunbow accurate 4-inch G.I. Joe headquarters, you're not going to see that in a Walmart. HasLab
Right.
that. I mean, it's going to be gigantic. The box alone will be huge. Like, just like Jabba's sail barge, right? I could see why they HasLab Jabba's sail barge. It was never made before, and it's gigantic. Yeah. It's a 5-foot box.
Perfect. That's perfect for a HasLab thing, in my opinion. But
this thing?
Yeah. You've got one right above your head.
That sucker? Why bother? Oof.
And we're laughing because Elite Legend again for the win says, well, they should make other figures HasLab because they technically can't put them in stores. Sadly, that's the way it's coming across.
You are correct, sir. 100%.
Well, that's what they're moving to the retro line too. It looks like you can't buy them in the stores. You can only buy them through Hasbro for $40 for 2 figures.
You're talking the O-rings.
O-rings, yeah.
See, and again, right, branding. Now, when you say retro, are we talking the 4-inch modern design? Are we talking the retro cardback 6-inch figures? Or are we talking you can't call everything retro.
Right. It loses its meaning.
But they did. They did.
Yeah, these new ones, well, actually, these new ones are technically more retro than the originals, than the first retro line, because they've actually O-ring. The Snake Eyes has a Real American Hero back on the packaging. So these are a little more retro than their first retro line is. So, and that's my complaint. Yeah, like we talked about earlier, the original retro line should have been called something else.
Yeah, 40th anniversary
retro line. But again, I'm sure that the new retro line is probably in reaction to people complaining about the stuff from the original retro line they did.
Well, because they had a 50th anniversary line. They had the Rise of Cobra, they had Retaliation, they had the 50th anniversary, the Pursuit of Cobra. Like, what were you going to call that Walmart exclusive modern design? Like, they should not have called it retro. I don't. G.I. Joe modern, not retro. I don't know what the hell to call it, but you
Yeah,
should have called it retro.
They should have had a name for it. But yeah, like Simple Tricks of Nonsense says,
Mm-hmm.
they need to take the baby steps and make more smaller vehicles for the classified, the Claw, the Trouble Bubble. Yes, I would buy a Trouble Bubble. I would buy a couple of them. A Skyhawk, Fang, Ferret, along with the weapon stations. Most definitely.
So, again, I'm going to assume that's John. I don't know which one of them it is. This is probably John. But totally has a point. So look at all the people who are 3D printing classified scale stuff. Mm-hmm. On the average, now you have the guys that are making classified scale APCs and rattlers and stuff like that. But on average, it's claws, snake armor, fangs,
trouble bubbles,
vamps, trouble bubbles, things like that. Like, make that. If they'd have made a vamp, repainted ram, ram cycle. If they'd have made a vamp, let's say they made a vamp for classified and they HasLabbed it, and then like you get the towables. Do you want so you get your vamp, and then your towable add-on is either your MMS, your HAL laser. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things you could tow behind a vamp.
Yes. Yep.
You know, like sky's the limit on that.
Oh yeah, very much so. Yes.
But instead they did a 4-inch Sky Striker.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's why I say I don't understand the reasoning going behind the mines at Hasbro. I don't know, other than as a committee, and whenever you do anything through committee, it's going to come out worse than it should.
But the brand is big enough. The collectors and the fans, and the diehard G.I. Joe people have proven to Hasbro that the brand is still solvent. Like, just lean into it. Like, you're leaning into Star Wars. You got your Black Series, you got your retro. They still make, fully modern articulate 4-inch figures. Mm-hmm. Like, that's 3 Star Wars lines right there. Why can't you lean right into 3 G.I. Joe brands? Like, press your initiative.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
It's like Joe is the redheaded stepchild of Hasbro's.
But why? Because that's Hasbro's doing, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know why, but
because it's military.
Mounted weapons swap from machine gun to AT missiles on the classified vamp.
Yeah, I get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably why, because it is. I mean, because Transformers is technically a military type thing, also, but it's more
giant robots.
It's more giant robots, I guess. Yeah, for lack of a better phrase. So that's why
those Transformers movies were just as assed up and left of field as the G.I. Joe movies, but they're giant talking robots.
Yeah.
That sells. Like, especially in the overseas markets, those Transformers movies did gangbusters because they're giant talking robots.
Oh yeah.
G.I. Joe is not giant talking robots.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a little different. Like, the movie audience is different. But it's all Paramount. Paramount can make all these awesome Mission Impossible movies. Like, get the people who did those Mission Impossible movies to do G.I. Joe movies. Like, dude's hanging off the side of a plane. And he really did that. You know what I mean? Like, you could make some good G.I. Joe movies if you tried.
Oh, yeah. No, it's all right there. Well, I guess we've talked about. I mean, Larry's laid out how many years of comics that would be almost any run he did in his run, would be a great for the Snake Eyes movie. If they would have taken Larry Hama's the 20 issues 26, 27, and then a couple of other issues later on where they dealt with Snake Eyes' origin, that would have been a great movie. And some people say, add in issue 21 as an ending to it or a lead in or whatever.
Yeah, that was my argument. You want to end a G.I. Joe movie on a cliffhanger, end it with him hitting the ramp on that C-130. And then you start a second movie with silent interlude and he's just running through and there's no sound. He's just wasting everybody.
And I think that poop storm of a movie and their non-toyetic figures diminished the retail enthusiasm of the line. From
100%.
Collectibles, yes. Yeah.
And he
looks like it's all around.
Elite Legends, he loves to talk about his dirty milk water Storm Shadow. And that's something that you and I have talked about before, Aaron. Like, you can foster a brand or you can kill a brand. Mm-hmm. Right. And that Snake Eyes movie it did nothing to bolster G.I. Joe.
No.
Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing at all. Like Rise of Cobra wasn't a great movie, but it made 300 million, right? Retaliation made almost 100 million more. And then
personally, I loved Retaliation. Yes, there was some flaws,
but see,
Retaliation to me was a great G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah, but if we just talk simple numbers, like we're always going to have opinions. Everybody has a different opinion. The bottom line is that those movies made profits. Like Snake Eyes did not. Like Snake Eyes did nothing to help the brand. And they're so worried about, oh, well, we don't want to put a lot of figures out to the retailers because they're going to sit on shelves. What do you think those freaking Snake Eyes movies figures are doing? They're trying to sell them for like $7 and nobody wants them. Like, I wouldn't even buy the Snake Eyes figures to tear the head off and use them as army builders because they just suck.
And some comments from the chat. Elite Legend says, because of the movie, Wave would have launched the line. We wouldn't have gotten this far.
Yep.
And Simple Tricks says, you need some super rich, incredibly passionate G.I. Joe fans to back a G.I. Joe movie. The equivalent of the Salkinds who carried the 1978 Superman and made it what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, here's what's funny. So like he says that. I have at least once had a daydream that, wow, if I won, say, a $400 million lottery, I would totally take $100 million and just go fund a freaking G.I. Joe movie. I probably had that daydream a few times.
And I would be behind that. Yeah, no.
But again, you get back to people who they don't understand it. They see it at its very superficial, like surface level, and they're like, okay, well, there's this guy named Destro, and there's a guy named Snake Eyes, and there's a guy named Storm Shadow, and I think there's a guy named Duke. And then they just kind of like vomit something out from there. Like even in that Snake Eyes movie, like, why is Scarlet a major? Like she's a major and she's like, oh yeah, you know, General Colton. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Why don't we start with Colonel Hawk and General Flag, and let's just go from there.
Yes.
Like, but again, you got people on the Star Wars brand at Hasbro. You'd be like, what cell block was Princess Leia in the first movie? They couldn't tell you.
Right.
What docking bay was the Millennium Falcon pulled into by the tractor beam? They don't know. You know, but like any diehard Star Wars fan would tell you.
Right.
Like, cell block 1138, right? Like they will tell you.
With it, sometimes
2187, right? Yeah. Like they're going to tell you that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Well, it's like, why was the pit in Egypt?
I don't know.
You know, it's like they wanted to make like G.I. Joe like the UN.
Yeah, they were going for more of an international appeal with it instead of being G.I. Joe. What is it? A real American hero. They were trying to do it more of a action force international hero.
Okay, but set it up that way.
Yeah.
I would love to see a G.I. Joe movie where they have to do something in England, and next thing you know, like there's Coral and Captain Skip and Jammer standing there. Like, what super fan wouldn't lose their mind at something like that?
Yeah. Well, then we have Outbacks too. Make the movie and use the toys, kind of like the Thunderbirds.
On strings. Just fucking like, was it Team America, World Police? Yeah. Like Thunderbirds?
We have Elite coming back in saying, so we have G.I. Joe, but we don't like war themes. We are afraid to call them a real American heroes, and we can't call Cobra a terrorist grouping because it would offend terrorists. Well, that's one thing I read. I don't know how true it was, but during the Rise of Cobra, that's why they said they didn't want to use the mask, the hooded Cobra Commander, because it looked like a terrorist. It was very reminiscent of the KKK, and they don't want to offend anybody. The KKK, maybe it's just my opinion. KKK is not a good group. Who cares if you offend them? And Cobra is not supposed to be a good guy. So I felt I don't like that logic. And then they say they want to be more realistic, but then we get those what was it, the accelerator suits? I
I don't get into that hooded Cobra Commander debate because a lot of it is assumptions and conjecture, and
Right.
B, it's an executioner's hood. Like, if you don't know that to begin with, again, it goes back to like who's driving that bus. And the whole thing with the battle helmet, he only puts a helmet on when he's going to go into battle. It's called a battle helmet for a reason. Other than that, he wears an executioner's hood.
Right. And
Like, you should know that going into GI Joe. Like, you should freaking know that. You should, like, and that's fine. Like, if you want to put the pit in Egypt, the only thing that I could think of why they would put the pit in Egypt is because that's in the center of all land masses on the planet, right? Where the pyramids are, that's the center of all land masses. Maybe it's like equidistant to anywhere on the planet. Okay, but point that out.
Yeah.
Point it out. Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a whole movie reason. Just give me a couple of lines in the dialogue, Why are we in Egypt?
And if you study a lot of cinema these days, a lot of writers and a lot of movie makers, they're more interested now in the what rather than the why, right? Why is the driving factor of everything that we do. Like, it sets up the intent. It paints every picture. Like, why? Like, like, I've been in the military for 19 years. Like, everything that I put out to soldiers, I always give them the why, because the why is the motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is the pit in Egypt? Why does Cobra Commander wear a hood?
Instead of just saying, this is what you need to do, explain why it needs to be done this way.
Yeah.
I work for the IRS. I work in the exam departments. And when I'm training people, we tell them why these are tax laws and these are the way we have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Earned income credit set up this way. And this is why taxpayers have to verify this. That way they understand why and how it's affecting people. Yeah. And it makes it easier to do their job and for them to understand.
Yeah. I don't want to get into it. Right. I guess I kind of put myself in the corner, but I've made some soldiers do some terrible things, right? Why? Like, I got to give them the why.
Right.
Throughout my career, like, I've asked some horrendous things of people, but you give them the why, like,
it's more,
they're going to do it.
Easier to.
Anyway, yeah, that's it. Get off that.
But let's move on quickly. So, simple tricks.
Yeah.
He says 2 weeks of any project, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers, whatever. You do a lore and world building course. You get experts teaching the project leaders about that fictitious world. Yes, and follow it.
Yeah.
And then we also have Elite Legends saying that you're on G.I. Joe. And which is followed up by, they saw the trailer for Halo. It was a wonderful display of stunning and brave.
Oh, I've heard nothing but horrendous stuff about that Halo show. Anyway, all I hear is Elite Legends going, "Hey guys."
But yeah, Halo's not my wheelhouse, so I don't care about it. But but G.I. Joe is my love, and that's such a love. I've been into G.I. Joe. I watched the cartoon when it first came out. As I've talked about in the main show, I got in the toy shortly thereafter. I got into the comics in 86, 87, and I've been with it ever since. There was a period where I didn't have the money to follow or whatever. I kind of back in and out, but I've had a love for G.I. Joe since I saw the cartoon in 1982. Emily says, "Hi guys." Apparently she's entered the chat.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey guys. Yeah. Same.
But yeah, I just that's why I've got such a, I don't know, not necessarily distaste, but why I get so passionate about the mess up, in my opinion, and apparently several others that Hasbro's doing with the G.I. Joe line. G.I. Joe could be so much more than what Hasbro's doing with it.
Yeah.
It's as was stated in the chat that gender studies majors run G.I. Joe, or if it's because it's a war toy, they don't want to focus on it as much as everything else. I don't know where the hatred or the dislike or whatever, but Elite Legends, which I'm guessing is Emily at this point, says, "I remember walking to Kmart and getting the version 2 Storm Shadow. Really want to recreate that with Classified one day."
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, 100%. I remember all those experiences as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some experiences that you can vividly remember, and I remember the first time I saw low light. I mean, you're talking like '86, but I love low light. You know, Mike from What's on Joe Mind, like he's a Beachhead dude, and Beachhead's my number two, but like low light is my number one Joe. He always has been. Even like in the Sunbow series, when everybody else was like, you know, and you got Shipwreck over there just like sharping and EOing on everyone, you know, like low light was just that really cool, like calm, you know, he's just like low light's a killer.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't play people's games, and like low light was always my guy. And I remember taking him off the peg and just staring at him.
Well, then we have Outbacks too in the chat. So Scarlet, Snake Eyes, or Duke? And why is the answer Outback?
Why is the answer Outback? I don't know. You tell us.
See, I like Outback. He ever since the that one storyline when the stalker and Quick Kick and was it Snow Job got caught behind enemy lines, and Outback had to get out and get help. Mm-hmm. Outback has been one of my favorite Joes because of that storyline.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember he got back, and the rest of the Joes were, 4 went in, 1 came out. Why'd you leave your friends behind? And everyone gave him the stink eye, not realizing the stalker ordered him out, and no, we're injured, we can't get away. You've got to get out to get us some help. And then they had this special missions issue that followed it that told the story of Outback getting out and getting help, getting back to civilization. Yeah, ever since that storyline, Outback's been one of my favorite Joes. So,
but all you need is another version of Roadblock. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah, the Outback here we got, it's an older, gray-haired Outback, which I don't know about Outbacks too. I'm not a fan of that one. The Outback that we got for the classified line.
Yeah, the Tiger Force one.
Yeah, he's got white hair, and I for some reason, and this goes into another nitpick or complaint or gripe or whatever you want to call it, redheads get the short end of the staff. Redheads get changed into black people, or like in Outback's case, they change his hair to white. Redheads get no love anymore. It's like
did you see they just did that to Carrie Kelly's Robin?
Yes, yeah, I complained about that on my Facebook page. I complained about that. I mean, yes, we need more representation. Sure, there's plenty of black characters and other characters out there we could focus on that they don't. And my thing is, instead of turning Carrie Kelly into a black girl, if you want more black characters out there, be creative and create one.
But at the same time, why do you even need Carrie Kelly in that story anyway? Like,
right. Well, yeah, Carrie Kelly is a whole different thing.
Yeah, and she came way after Dick, like after all of them, after Jason Todd. Like she was just a kid who just bought a Robin anyway. I mean, like we're getting off topic, but why do you even need Carrie Kelly in that story anyway? She doesn't even fit.
Right. But yeah, let's get back to G.I. Joe instead of we're getting a little off track here. But
hey, you started talking about redheads. So.
Yeah, I know. Well, again, because like Outback Stu says, he'd rather have the OG Outback. Me too. That's where the redheads came from. Outback. They screwing Outback over by making him a white hair, which appears to be an older guy. But
well, yeah, because they did it to the throwback Tiger Force Outback, and right. I get that. Just like with the reaction version release that the Fun School Snake Eyes. And that's all well and good, but this kind of goes back to the same argument that we were having earlier. If the first Outback you put out is that throwback Tiger Force version, just so you can have a Target exclusive figure, okay. But we got 4 versions of Roadblock before we got to the Roadblock. And it's not even the Roadblock because he doesn't have the Maudus, he has the Gatling gun. Right. Whatever. It's just a reuse of the Gatling gun from the Ram. Okay, that's fine. That's cost cutting. But it's the same with Scarlet. Like, when are we going to see like the OG looking Scarlet?
Mm-hmm. And we have Elite Legends and Toys saying that he feels that Lady J show will be the end of the classified line.
Why are you making? Yeah, we talked about this last time. Why are you making a Lady J show?
Yeah, I like Lady J. But I don't know.
Well, I don't dislike Lady J, but again, is it GI Joe or is it Lady J Presents? Like,
right.
is it a GI Joe movie or is it the Snake Eyes movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a team. Make it a team. The team is the dynamic. It's not the person. Like, each individual comes together and they can do amazing things, but they can only do those amazing things together. It's like, is it the Chicago Bulls or is it Michael Jordan? Is it the New York Yankees or is it Derek Jeter? Like, I don't need a Lady J show. I don't need a Snake Eyes movie. I need GI Joe.
You get some great players on the teams, but they need the entire team to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of making a Lady J show, they should have done should be doing a GI Joe show, and you don't have to focus all 500 characters. Pick out 2, 3, 4 your main, who you want to focus on, and have them run the show, and then you can have occasional people pop up for a mission or whatever to bring some of these other characters in. But yeah, pick on, or if you want to have like one season, focus on, Duke, Scarlet's, Snake Eyes, and someone else, and then the second season focus on another group. I mean, that's another way of doing, that way you can get more of these people in, you can get, different actors in.
Yeah, like that show, The Unit. They did it just fine.
And Outback Stew has probably a good point there. Probably couldn't get the rights for all the characters. But if they can't, my opinion is, if you can't do it properly, don't do it. Again, maybe I'm wrong. I said that about other thing. If you can't do it properly, they say, well, they can't do it for this reason or that reason. Well, then don't do it. If you can't do it right for whatever reason, hold off till you can actually do it properly.
Well, can't get the rights from who? Like, it's Hasbro Entertainment. Hasbro owns
all those characters for the most part. I mean, there's a few, Sergeant Slaughter, a few others that have likeness reason, Rocky.
Well, yeah, and Sergeant Slaughter's in Valaverse anyway. Rocky. You're gonna pull into Rocky.
But yeah, there are some characters that they don't have access to for one reason or the other. But
yeah, but we're not talking those characters.
But majority of the characters are owned by Hasbro. They license those characters out to Marvel. They license those characters out to IDW. Now they're licensing them out to somebody else this next year. And then we have Simple Tricks. Better to have nothing than be disappointed. Amen. Yes. No, as I said, some of these things I've seen, I forget what it was. I was talking about something here a while back, and they only did a half-ass, and someone's like, "Oh, maybe they don't have rights or this or that." Then don't do it. If you can't give the proper job it needs, don't do it. Hold off until you can do it for whatever reason it may be. But yeah, that's a good excuse, Stu, that maybe they don't have the license, but I don't see where that's at because Hasbro owns the characters, unless it isn't
outright.
Unless it isn't Hasbro doing the Lady J show, maybe that's the only one they will give them. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know who's behind the Lady J show offhand. Is that a Hasbro product or is that someone that's licensed it? Maybe that is the issue, but I don't know.
Well, all that Hasbro stuff, it's all through the Hasbro Entertainment, either Hasbro Gaming or whatever they want to call it. And I mean, let's be honest, Lorenzo Di Bonaventura, like, he's the dude who's trashing G.I. Joe.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they need to stop letting that guy near that property, like, period. Like, just like Simple Tricks and Nonsense said, like, give him a crash course, like, drink from the fire hose, like, figure it out, like, read the comics, watch the Sunbow, whatever, and like, play with the toys, like, get your lore down.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Come on the screen. Yeah, the first 2 weeks of any project, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, He-Man, whatever it is, you do the lore, world building course, you get experts teaching the project leaders about that fictitious world. And basically, in short, have a series Bible and stick to it.
Mm-hmm. But that's where, like, love and passion for a thing is different than it's a job.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's part of the problem is that, a lot of these guys that are working on these movies and things, they don't have a love. It's a job for them. They're doing the job. They're doing what they're supposed to. They're getting money.
Like, look at that first Deadpool movie, Ryan Reynolds and Tim Miller. Like, the two of them. It was the two of them They made that movie. Like Ryan Reynolds wanted to make a proper Deadpool movie because of what they did to that character and what he was part of in that frickin' Origins, right? There we go with the Origins shit again. With that Origins X-Men, that Wolverine movie. And, you know, they were paying for a lot of those special effects out of their pockets.
Wow.
They made that movie on nothing. That was a passion project through and through. And like, you know, like it or not, you have to admit that like people poured their hearts into that Deadpool movie. Like if you pour your heart into a passion project, like it's the same thing with Lucas in the first Star Wars, like $10 million, a lot of his own money too.
Yeah.
Like that first movie's brilliant. You know, it slows down. It has time to breathe. There's character development. Like it's a brilliant movie. And again, if it wasn't for having Marsha Lucas on that to edit it the way that she did, like it probably would have been a totally different movie.
Right. And this is something I've been saying for quite a while. Elite Legend says they will focus on demographics that do not appeal to their base audience. Women don't watch action genre and cater to minority groups that don't even compromise 13% of the population combined. And that's one thing that I mean, people saying that, well, you need to have comics focusing on women to get women readers. You need to have more comics focused on more minorities. But my question is, who's buying the comics? Yes, it's nice. We do need to have more representation out there. I won't disagree with that. But you need to look at who's buying, and they make all these changes to bring in new readers. The new readers come in for a few months, but then they drop it because they get bored with it. They don't like it anymore, whatever the reason is. And you still get fans out there like me and you that buy this stuff, even through some of this crap period, because we like the property so much that we pet up with some of the crap. But some long-term fans, they get tired of all the focusing on the group that's not there, that they tend to ignore the older readers or older viewers.
Twitter mobs.
Fans, what's that? Twitter moms, yes. That they would rather lose the people that's been there, you know, when some of these comics or G.I. Joe has it, you know, they haven't had much of a fan base for whatever reason, instead of making it better. And like I said, a lot of these changes they make, they don't have to make the changes, and they can still make a good movie that appeals to both me and you, the older fans, and also bring in newer people. But all they're focusing on is this imaginary group of new fans that are rushing in that ain't there. And in doing so, they lose a lot of older fans.
Well, people don't like Batman as a character because they can relate to the dude under the cowl, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh, well, this rich billionaire orphan guy under this cowl, like I relate to him because I'm a rich billionaire orphan guy. It's not how that works. It's because they're like rich stories with good characters. Like that should be the bottom line. Like it's not about, you know, I'm focusing on this demographic. I'm going after this. Look what happened with the new Star Wars movies. Like you're going to make those sequel movies, like you're going to make them by a committee and you're going to have this crazy ass Mary Sue character. Like, okay. Like they're completely throwaway.
And then some comments real quick from the chat. Again, Simple Trick says, what dude gets pissed at movies like Dirty Dancing or How Silly Got Her Groove Back or Bridget Jones? Doesn't have characters and story elements aimed at them.
And I mean, nobody puts baby in a corner, man. You know, like
they're aimed at a certain audience. And at least you guys watched Reacher. No, I have not seen that yet. It's on my list. That guy needs to be the face of G.I. Joe and He-Man.
I haven't seen Reacher yet either. I keep getting told to watch it. I will. It's on my list of to-dos. Right now I'm watching All of Us Are Dead, that Korean zombie show made by the people who did Squid Game on Netflix.
Oh. And then a very good point, something I've been saying, Simple Trick says, not everything needs to appeal to everyone. Satisfy the core fans first, and the sheep will follow. General audiences gravitate to what their other people are enjoying. And that's what I've been saying. They're like, well, we're not making these movies for the hardcore fans. We're making them for the general audience. But who do you think's going to get the G.I. Joe people in to watch the movie? Me and you. Word of mouth.
And word of mouth.
Yes. And they need to folk like Simple Trick says, they need to make it towards us. And as long as they make a good movie, we're going to tell everybody else, and that'll get more people in there. And that's why I say, instead of reaching for some imaginary fan base, they need to keep in mind the fans that are here, because a lot of us, a word of mouth can destroy it. A product. If you don't like something because they're going too far out, it can really destroy, make or break a product. Because, like I say, a lot of my family and friends, if I tell them don't go watch this movie because it sucks, okay, I'll probably wait till it comes on video or HBO or whatever. I'm not going to worry about it. But if I go in there and tell them, check this out, this great movie, they're going to be more interested. I say the Snake Eyes movie, as we've been going back to. A buddy of mine he owns a restaurant here in town, and we go there all the time and eat. It's a Mexican restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
He's asking me, I went there and he's like, "So, Aaron, you seen Snake Eyes yet?" Yeah. What do you think? Like I told him, it was a decent action movie, but it was a horrible G.I. Joe movie, horrible Snake Eyes movie. And so he's not in a big hurry to go out and watch it now. Now, if I would have went in there raving, "Oh, it's a great movie, you need to go check it out," he would have took his wife, his kids, they would have went and watched it. They would have told their family and friends. So I think, ignoring the fans and going for this imaginary audience they're looking for, I think does them more harm than good.
So, okay, couple of things. So Simple Tricks and Nonsense, right? John and Rebecca, or Newt, they do like amazing. I don't know if you've seen their cosplay. Like his Hordak, it is brilliant. He has a Manny faces. Like it looks like it just jumped right off print. Like their costumes are amazing. Like it's people like that keep things like She-Ra and Hordak like in the public eye. They go to these conventions and stuff. The way that they're dressed, they look perfect. Like their stuff is amazing. And look at Joe Fest. What'd you say?
I was going to say that's where I was going next. Was look at our last episode of the Bravo team with Kevin. I mean, he does all these different cosplays. He does,
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I got all my Cobra helmets are up here in this closet. You can't see them.
I mean, him and his friends, they and your friends, you guys.
Yeah, and the finest. Yeah, absolutely.
The finest.
There's 3 people in the finest in New Mexico, my man. So.
Yeah. And I know Kevin, and and he's always talking about the finest, and he's always showing his pictures and stuff, and they've got some great costumes in that group.
Yeah. 501st was Star Wars, but like it's the fans that keep these IPs going. Like in the dark years for Star Wars, like after Power of the Force was done, before the Zahn trilogy of books, before the special editions, before any word of prequels, it was the fans that kept that stuff going. After Hasbro killed G.I. Joe as a toy line, after they killed Joe Con, like it was guys like Ed with Joe Fest and people like Carson Metaxas. Like these are the guys that keep G.I. Joe going. It's people like us. And it's like, it's such a double-edged sword at the same time, because we can sit here and say, we can sharpshoot all day. Well, why do they do this? And how come they don't do that? And who the fuck is running stuff? Yeah, I said it. Like, who the fuck is running stuff over there? And like, it's not that we're shitting on Hasbro. It's not that like we hate them. It's that, Star Wars fans who are upset about the sequel trilogy, they don't hate Star Wars.
Right.
They love Star Wars. Like they live and breathe Star Wars. Like people who love He-Man and don't like this Masters of the Universe revelation, they're not shitting on He-Man. They love He-Man. Like, and then you say like, well, there wasn't a lot of He-Man in that He-Man show. Like I said that. And then somebody's like, well, the He-Man's not in the title. So come on and see. Masters of the Universe is fucking He-Man. Don't give me that shit.
I watched the Masters of the Universe. I actually enjoyed it. And I get, it's not He-Man, the Masters of the Universe. It's just called Masters of the Universe. So I see where people like you are coming from, because for decades it's been He-Man is the main character.
But how did they draw people into that? They said this is a direct continuation of the Filmation He-Man show. They said that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then they draw people in. Oh, rope-a-dope. No, it's not. This wasn't for you. But it's like, well, a minute ago you said it was.
Other than maybe it might be a continuation of the original line. But I enjoyed it for what it was.
Right. But the point that I'm getting at is that just because fans are vocal about stuff that they don't like doesn't mean that we're like what that minority that like Elite Legends keeps talking about, the minority that says, oh, we're the toxic fandom and we're the outspoken minority. No, like we're the torchbearers of these brands. Like, and I love the fact that like I could go into Hot Topic and buy this shirt. I love this shirt, you know, because it's very simple, it's very bold, and I love it. And I liked it. I like that G.I. Joe's around again. I just I want to see the love, like that Snake Eyes movie was such a tone deaf thing in the wrong direction. And to kind of go off what you were saying, Batman Begins only came out a few years after the disaster that was Batman and Robin, which, by the way, Batman and Robin made a shitload more money than that Snake Eyes movie. But Batman Begins came out not many years after Batman and Robin. And a lot of people were so burned out on Batman because of that Clooney movie. It was the word of mouth that got Batman Begins to make a lot of money, because when it first came out, it wasn't doing well. But then one person went and saw it, and they told 5 friends, and those 5 friends went and saw it, and they told 5 more friends, and Batman Begins really started getting traction, and that was a good movie. And then the G.I. Joe movie.
You need to not only do you have to have a good movie, but you also need to reach out and make the hardcore fans, like we said, happy, because they're the ones that's going to go see it. They're the ones that's going to start your word of mouth.
But then that Snake Eyes movie came out, and everyone who knows me knows that I am like the G.I. Joe guy through and through, you know, like in my circles.
Right.
And people would ask me, oh, hey, you know, what you think about the Snake Eyes movie? Like, I'll tell you, Aaron, you and I talked about this before. Like, throughout that whole movie, I was like, this is like that, like late 90s, really piss poor superhero kind of movie. Like, it's just bad. Like, through and through, it was bad. Like, it's just like John was saying from Simple Tricks and Nonsense. Like, you got to get people in, and you got to teach them this stuff. Like, okay, so the safe house and the snake eyes, because his dad rolled loaded dice and they were snake eyes. Like how like self-deprecating is that to call yourself Snake Eyes? Like, but they could have done the whole thing with his dad, where he told his dad, like, you know, when I grow up, I'm going to join the military and this, that, and all this stuff. And it's like, well, you know, I don't need luck and all this stuff. And his dad's like, well, then all you have is Snake Eyes, right? Because that's where it came from.
Right.
Why is that so much worse than rolling dice? And I call myself Snake Eyes because this guy made my dad roll dice and then he killed him. And so, like,
one of many bad choices in that movie.
I just couldn't.
Got some comments here from the
Peanut Gallery.
The Peanut Gallery. Simple Tricks and Nonsense says that the Reacher guy needs to be He-Man. Followed by Outback Stew saying Reacher would make a good Duke. Again, I haven't watched it, so I can't comment on that. But apparently Simple Tricks agrees. They said that, yes, he would. The dude needs to be more stuff.
All right, now I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it tonight. That's it. I'm watching it.
Titans, don't get me started on Titans, another show I can complain about.
Oh. He was in Titans?
I want to love Titans because I was a big fan of the Wolfman Perez Titan era. This is not the Wolfman Titan Perez era. I've tried watching several episodes of Titans, and it just...
Doesn't Dick Grayson cuss about Batman a lot in that show?
Yeah, in the first episode, they were talking, and he's like, F Batman and this and that.
Yeah.
And like, well, then like I say, I'm a huge fan of Hawk and Dove. I know it's probably not too many of us out there, but they completely changed the characters. This isn't a Titans podcast for me to complain about, but yeah, being a huge fan of the Titans, I should love that show, but in my opinion, they've done so much wrong, but sadly people like it. So they're going to keep going that direction.
Let's talk some shit about Silverhawks while we're at it. I'm going to talk some shit about Silverhawks.
What about Silverhawk? We ain't seen
No,
nothing.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just pulled the property out of thin air. So.
But speaking of properties, Simple Tricks, again, imagine how much fans have invested in the IPs, yet the companies target people who only own Funko Pops, and to the company, their dollar is more important than the fan's dollar. That's what we've been saying.
100%.
Yep.
100%.
And then Quick Outback Stew says, just watched the opening of He-Man. The funny thing, first thing he says is He-Man in the Masters Universe. And
talk about the original cartoon.
Yeah. And to answer your question, Reacher plays Hawk. in the Titan series.
I'm gonna watch that. I'll watch that Reacher show tonight because I'm
So,
on the last episode of All of Us Are Dead now.
yeah,
So
I have a bunch of stuff. I was trying to get through the Marvel stuff on Netflix before they got away, and then they canceled. They moved it off, but now it's back on Disney. So I got a lot of shows I'm watching, but I need to get into that Reacher because I hear nothing good about it. So
yeah. My only introduction to Jack Reacher was the Tom Cruise.
Right.
The Tom Cruise movies. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out. And I hear that this guy is more in line with the book version.
I don't know if I read in the books, but I know a buddy of mine, Lee, I think it was complaining about Tom Cruise as Reacher because he says, that Reacher should be a taller gentleman. And Tom Cruise, as we all know, needs special effects to make him a taller gentleman.
I mean, they made Casper Van Dien, Johnny Rico, and Starship Troopers. It is what it is. If you read the Heinlein book, and then you watch that movie, you're like,
what the
hell? It's Verhoeven, and I love Verhoeven, but we're kind of going away. But yeah, so Simple Tricks and Nonsense is 100% right. So it's all these Funko Pop kids, and whatever, but they're not.
Yeah, no, you can reach out for these, like I said, these newer fans or the people like the Funko Pops, but it's us diehards that's been in it since the mid 80s, early 80s.
Yeah, but you entice them with the richness of a brand. You don't change the brand to try to draw in like fresh blood or like a smaller crowd. Like we saw it with Star Wars. Like they made that Star Wars Land sequel trilogy because Kathleen Kennedy was like, oh, nobody cares about the 50-somethings. When originally it was going to be Tatooine, and she talked Iger and those people out of it. And then okay, I went to that Star Wars Land and I was like, whatever. But these new fans, they don't buy toys.
Right. See, I enjoyed the Star Wars sequels. I enjoyed Star Wars Land. But having said that, if it was Tatooine, I would have loved it much more. Yeah. No,
yeah. You go in there and Figure and Dan and the model nodes are like getting down. That'd be way better. But the point is that you draw on these new fans. You change your existing property that has a built-in existing fan base. You change it to get onesie twosie, new fans. Well, they're not buying your toys. They're not all about they're not going to buy $1,000 prop replica stuff.
Are they going to stay with you for 40 years?
Yeah, but they're not the fans who are sitting at home 3D printing, perfect freaking screen accurate armor.
That's what I'm saying. Me and you've been Star Wars fans for 40 years or close to it.
Yeah.
These newer people, are they going to stick with Star Wars? G.I. Joe? We've been G.I. Joe fans for 40 years or close to it. Are these newer people coming in going to stay with the brand for 40 years? They have no product coming out for a decade at a time. Are they going to stay with it and still be fans of it? Line.
But the thing is that those of us who have been around, like you, me, all these guys in the chat, right? It's a part of who we are. It's not just I think this character looks cool, so I'm going to buy it. Everything about it, it's been with us since, our formative years. Mm-hmm. What was it? Elite Legends. Hector was talking about. He remembers getting that version 2 Storm Shadow off the peg. We all have a story like that. I remember, Empire had come and gone, and then boom, here comes G.I. Joe. Between Empire and Jedi came G.I. Joe, and then G.I. Joe swallowed me. It swallowed me whole. Right. And then Star Wars became an afterthought to me when I saw G.I. Joe.
Right.
It became everything. I joined the military because of G.I. Joe. My whole adult life is shaped off of what it did to me as a kid.
See, if G.I. Joe wasn't around or if you didn't get into it, would you be in the military now? Or would that have changed your
life? I don't know.
I mean, you may have not joined the military if you didn't have G.I. Joe there to guide you.
I don't know, but I grew up in the same era with everybody else. We all grew up in that Reagan era, where we did, fallout drills and got under our desks and all that stuff. And the time that we grew up in and the stuff that we grew up with, it completely shaped me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Everything that I am is because of these little plastic army dudes.
And last comment, hopefully from about Star Wars, Simple Tricks is that
No more Star Wars.
Star Wars land again, because this isn't a Star Wars podcast. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
My Head Speaks podcast, maybe. But Simple Trick says, big mistake considering Magical Mando, Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan all take place on Tatooine. Yeah, so I mean, that's a big, definitely. No one cares about it, but all these newer series are taking place there. And then Outbacks 2 has a great point. Now I want a G.I. Joe land.
Let's go.
Cobra Island and Springfield section, and that'd be nice. But Hasbro would screw it up. So anyways, but somehow they would mess it all up.
I mean, come on any army post. There's your G.I. Joe land.
But the fan, and that's one of the major, and again, we were starting the show talking about the toys itself. And that's, in my opinion, where they're messing up, is that they're not really giving and they're kind of going back that way to listening to the older fans. That's why they're moving the classified line back towards more original looking figures. And
look at that bat you have.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's for those watching on YouTube. Yeah. It's great. In fact, there's a chest plate you can put on it, but I prefer the original looking.
Yeah.
And it comes with a backpack with all different replacement parts for the arm. No, this is a great figure. And
there's a perfect modern update to that figure.
Yes. But the problem is it's taken them so long to come out with these figures. They spent so long on the earlier stuff, as we talked about, the Nerf weapons and the molded body or the molded plastic, whatever, and the whatever they got going on. And the retro line, they spent so long on a retro line that isn't really retro before they've kind of course corrected. And while the figures are looking more retro, the classified are looking more what we want. They're still not making a wide enough net, I don't think, to bring in the newer fans.
Yeah.
And Simple Trick says that Real American Hero came out at a time when America was romanticizing about Vietnam, when the U.S. was wanting a win, even if it was in stories only. Is a way of getting 80s kids to embrace the military. And it worked.
Yeah, but we also had we had those little quick victories with Panama and Grenada,
right?
Like that I don't want to say nationalism because sometimes there's a
stigmata.
People don't like that term, but the United States won that hockey game against the Russia. Was that the Olympics, right? They beat the Soviet Union in the Olympics.
Right.
Yeah. Hockey. And there was just like a renewed sense of we can do anything, the space shuttle program and all of that stuff. And we were back on top, baby. But like post Vietnam, people didn't really want to do war toys. And that's kind of, in the Vietnam era with G.I. Joe moved to the adventure team. Right. So they moved more away from that, movable fighting man, to adventure team, which is cool, because the adventure team stuff still carries on because I have some of the modern 4-inch adventure team figures.
Oh, okay.
They're cool. But, the 80s was just a different time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hostage crisis. Yeah. Yeah, but that was Jimmy Carter. I mean, we're not having a history class here, but as soon as Reagan became president, what they say, they were like, we need to release those hostages. He's going to come after us.
But also, we've got moved off topic and talking about a little bit of everything now. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say about the toys over the last?
No, I think that we covered everything. I just think that a lot of it is it's a little aimless. They are kind of, they're getting their feet under them with the aesthetics of the classified figures. They're moving away from that the funky asymmetrical armor and the Nerf guns, and they're moving back a little more toward the Real American Hero and the Sunbow style stuff, which I think is cool. And then Super 7, they have the Ultimates that are very Sunbow accurate.
Right.
Reaction's just Reaction. That's just for Reaction fans.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about that, but yeah, Reaction's got some nice figures. It's just again, for me, it's a little pricey for what it is.
Yeah, I just buy the Transformers reaction figures, and tear them apart, and make custom Joes with them. But I don't know. I think that Star Wars has a lot of brand recognition. They are doing 3 different figure lines, and they're doing it just fine. I think that G.I. Joe has proven to the powers that be at Hasbro that it still has the brand recognition. They could put those O-ring figures in stores, not make them Hasbro Pulse exclusives. Like I think they need to be a little more comfortable with that IP, especially since they own it. They don't license it like Star Wars. Like they own it. Like so their risk is a lot smaller because they're not paying royalty or licensing fees.
Right.
But I would like to see them branch out a little more with G.I. Joe. I'm glad that they're doing more with Joe. I'm not trying to be a naysayer or negative about it.
Right.
I just want to see them just embrace the possibilities like Hasbro used to as a company.
Right.
Like when Hungry Hippo saved that company from bankruptcy, and then they took a risk on G.I. Joe and didn't take no for an answer. I would like to see that spirit with G.I. Joe come back to that company. And I know that when you listen to Lenny from the G.I. Joe team, when you listen to him talk, he is a Joe dude. Like he is. He knows G.I. Joe. And he's one guy. He's one guy in a sea of people. And I don't know what they talk about behind closed doors, but you can tell he loves G.I. Joe. It's not like everyone on that line and that brand doesn't know anything about it. I just want to see them, give it a good warm embrace.
Very much so. And then another comment from Outback Stew. I don't think Army bases have life-size terror drones.
You don't know. It's classified.
Chad's not telling us. Jared won't mention this. I don't know. Maybe they're hiding something from us. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe not life-size terror drones. I've seen some weird underground shit in my days, though.
But, well, I want to thank you very much for joining me. I know it was last minutes. We talked about it, and we was going to do it. I was about to do it last week, and things came up, and
yeah,
I've been planning on getting a hold of you this whole entire week, and I kept forgetting until yesterday. Like, oh crap, I need to get a hold of Chad, and I know it's last minute, but we could have had more people on here, but that's how I roll. So I want to thank you.
That's all right, because
for getting me on here and for trying to get some other people to join us.
But now you and I got some stuff in the works.
Yes.
Yeah, some big stuff that we're going to put in the works in the next month.
Planning stuff out a little bit better and start planning it more. But thank you very much for joining me, sir. I always enjoy talking to you. You're a great guy to talk to.
I always love coming on.
I enjoy your backgrounds. So thank you very much. And thank you guys in the chat. Stu, Simple Tricks and Nonsense. And who else?
Elite Legends.
Elite Legends. I couldn't remember the name of it. I want
to
thank
good people
for joining us on the. I talk to Outback Stu on my Facebook group all the time.
Yeah.
So thank you guys very much for joining us on the chat and for watching this. Again, I don't have a big audience, but I love the people that are listening. So do you have anything else going on, Chad? Do you want to have any way if people want to contact you? Or reach out to you?
I mean, I'm only on Facebook. Every time we do this, it's always the same story. I don't do Instagram or anything like that. Thanks, Stu. Yeah, it's just on Facebook, Articulated Chad.
And on Facebook, again, I'm Aaron Head Moss. Currently, by the time this come out, I may be back to that name, but right now I'm using Aaron Todd because, again, I've upset Facebook. I'm going to keep that name around just in case when I upset Facebook again, because it's going to happen because I don't know how to shut up.
You're a bad boy.
I am. For as we talked about earlier, for stupid stuff. Like me and my wife was talking the other day. If you follow me on Facebook, I can be very outspoken. I don't like stupid people. I don't like Trump and their supporters. There's a lot of stuff I don't like, and I don't mind telling people. I've said a lot of stuff that maybe I should got suspended for. None of that was why I was suspended. So it's funny the things I get suspended for when there's plenty of other reasons to slap me down. But as I was saying, right now I'm operating under Aaron Todd, which was my stepfather's last name. I grew up, everyone in school called me Aaron Todd. After I got out of school, I went back by my legal name, which is Moss. But join us over on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/GI Joe. Check out the podcast. Again, I have GI Joe, Real American Headcast, which is my main show where we talk about the comics and the cartoon from the 80s. And then there's this Bravo team where we talk about, well, anything else. And as me and Chad have been talking the last couple of days, we've got several things lined up. He's been talking to some people to get on the show. So make sure you check us out. Check out my other shows. I've got my Head Speaks, which I talk about anything I want. Right now I'm covering the Power of the Atom series from DC. I've got my Task Force X, where I talk about the Suicide Squad and Checkmate.
Ooh.
Starman Adventure Hour, where I talk about the Mark Shaw man. Well, I was talking about the Mark Shaw Manhunter. Now it's just focusing on the Will Payton Starman from the late 80s, early 90s. Then I've got me and my wife is doing our Starbright project, where we look at the Quantum Leap TV show from the late 80s, early 90s. And we also have Voyagers Cast. No, it's not a Star Trek podcast. We're looking at the Voyagers TV show from 1982 through 1983. Another time travel show. So definitely check out those shows. Let me know what you think. Normally, I've been doing a live stream on the 4th Saturday of the month. That's next week. I'm caught up on my GI Joes. I'm actually, because my hard drive crashed, I'm actually where I need to be. I just need to finish editing things now that I'm getting things restored. So I may not have anything next week. But normally the 4th Sunday of the month, I do my live cast for my GI Joe show. And then whenever I can, I fit other shows in, such as this one. So join us over in the podcast and the Facebook group. And once again, thank you very much for joining us, Chad. And we will be talking with you soon, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Out there in TV land, thank you for joining us. And we will talk to you later in this broadcast. Thank you, guys.